I'd like to be under the sea, and I'd also like to choose the Deepwrought Scholarate in a Twilight Imperium 4 game. The Scholarate are a new faction in the Thunder's Edge expansion, with a tech and diplomacy flair. Their ability to coexist on planets, diplomatic tools, and ability to churn technologies fill a special niche and allow for a idiosyncratic playstyle. I won't be singing any sea shanties today, but I will be singing the praises of this faction. Atlantis might be lost, but your game won't be lost if you follow this guide. Let's begin this deep dive by discussing their faction abilities. Research Team. When ground forces are committed, if your units on the planet are not already coexisting, you may choose for your units to coexist. In short, you can have ground forces on a planet that another player has ground forces on without them fighting. Next ability, Ocean Bound. When your units begin coexisting on a planet, gain an ocean card and ready it. Anytime you have more ocean cards than there are planets that have your coexisting units, discard ocean cards until you do not. An ocean card is a 1 resource, 1 influence card that you get when you begin coexisting on a planet. The player whose units you are coexisting with still owns the planet. However, you can use it for the purpose of scoring objectives. Or you can use its resources to build plastic, or its influence to get more command tokens. Just like any other planet card. Let's move on to leaders. A ship is only as good as its captain, and a faction is only as potent as its leaders. First, their agent, Dr. Karina. When another player researches a technology, you may exhaust this card to allow that player to ignore 1 prerequisite. If they do, you may place 1 infantry from your reinforcements into coexistence on a non-known planet they control. So, you let a player ignore 1 prereq, which typically they will be eager to do, and you get to put down 1 infantry on one of their planets to coexist, and then naturally you get an ocean card. Everyone has a tech they are rushing, or a powerful faction tech they want to research. So keep your wits about you. Don't be Santa Claus and gift your enemy a tech that they will use to destroy you. Pick your moments wisely. Make sure you are keeping track of which techs each player has, so you know which player is best to offer your agent to. Next, their commander, Aiello, unlocked by having an ocean card in play. When another player spends resources to research a technology, that player may reduce the cost by 1. If they do, gain 1 commodity or convert one of your commodities to a trade good. So you help another player with tech, and you gain a commodity or convert one to a trade good. Quite simple. There's one thing you may have missed, however. After the commander is unlocked, any player can use its ability, even if you don't want them to or give them permission, which is important to note. Any leader or faction ability that allows a player to generate commodities or trade goods is a valuable one, as I've said before. I mean, let's say you're playing a 6-man game. You could potentially get 5 commodities or 2 trade goods and 1 commodity just from 1 use of tech, assuming you were flat broke to begin with. Okay, let's move on to their hero. We have Ta Zern, unlocked by, of course, having scored 3 objectives. His ability reads, Wave Function Collapse. Action. Purge this card and a non-unit upgrade technology you own, or from your deck. Then, purge all cards with the same name owned by other players and in other players' decks. Then, each player that purged a technology they owned researches another technology. Ah, the self-flagellating hero. Just kidding. Self-flagellation only occurs if one uses it improperly. So you get to choose a tech to be removed from the rest of the game for all players. Wait, doesn't this hurt everyone equally? Wrong. Use your hero on a tech that is valuable to the rest of the table and not to you. I will now list a few potential uses for this hero. Purging fleet logistics to stop a player from winning on the first turn of the final round. Purging gravity drive to stop another player from attacking a certain planet in some specific situation. X89 if you ignored the green path or are facing an infantry faction like Sol or a bombardment faction like the Lazx Minenet. Purging Duranium against a Dreadnought faction or factions, etc. Overall, a mid-high tier hero. Let's talk about Deepwrought's mech, Eonautic. When another player activates this system, if this unit is coexisting, you may move it and any infantry on its planet to a planet you control in your home system. It also has sustained damage and production 1. This mech lets you build additional units, typically more ground forces, so that your ground forces aren't just marooned on planets you can't reach. And its ability is rather useful in case your peaceful diplomatic relations dry up, so to speak. You can save your ground forces and send them to your home system harm-free. They can also be lying in wait for you to decide to turn on the person you're coexisting with. You have troops behind enemy lines. Faction Tax. Radical Advancement, which has 1 green prerequisite. At the start of the status phase, you may replace one of your non-unit upgrade technologies with a technology of the same color that has exactly 1 more prerequisite. To put it in simple terms, you can move rapidly towards the advanced 3 prereq techs, letting you get the techs that you need faster than your opponents. Let's say you have anti-mass deflectors and you just scored an anomaly-related objective and no longer need to move through asteroid fields, at least in the foreseeable future. Ditch anti-mass and pick up gravity drive. It's not like the tech gets purged. You can always research it again if the situation calls for it. Their next faction tech is called Hydrothermal Mining, another 1 green prereq. It reads, at the start of the status phase, gain 1 trade good for each ocean card in play. You have 5 ocean cards? Congrats, you're getting 5 trade goods at the beginning of the status phase. For a 1 prereq green tech, this is excellent. Depending on how many players are in the game, you can get your 5 ocean cards on turn 1 or 2 if you play your cards right. No pun intended. Trade goods are valuable, especially in the context of scoring objectives. Having a consistent and easy way to generate them is beneficial on all fronts. How can you sail the 7 seas like a salty sea dog without a ship? Or more specifically, a flagship. The Scholarate's flagship, DWS Luminous, costs 8, hits on 7 times 2, has a movement value of 1, and a capacity of 6. Its abilities are sustained damage, of course, and this ship can move through systems to contain your units, even if other players' units are present. If it would, apply +1 to its move value for each of those systems. This has obvious synergy with your agent and your coexisting ability. Get your ground forces all over the board, and then when the time is right, send your flagship wherever she wants to go. This is a high utility flagship due to your faction ability, its potential sky-high movement, and spacious 6 capacity. If you're going for combat, load it up with fighters. If you're sniping lightly defended planets, load it up with ground forces. This flagship is strong, but like the Scholarate's other abilities, it does take foresight and strategic planning to use effectively. Let's discuss their faction promissory note. Share knowledge. Action. Place this card face up in your play area and gain 1 non-faction, non-unit upgrade technology that the Deepwrought player owns. Place that technology on this card. Return that technology to the deck and this card to the Deepwrought player at the end of the status phase. This faction prom note is killer. Super easy to hand out, like buried treasure, everyone wants it. You don't really have to be a shrewd negotiator to get good deals with this one. You'll have plenty of techs that other players will want, so trade this off for a high price depending on the tech, of course. For optimal use, scan every player's play area and see what techs they have, and more importantly, which ones they need the most. Negotiate accordingly based on how valuable the tech is for them at that time. Let's break on through to the other side and analyze their breakthrough. Visionaria Select Action. Exhaust this card to allow each other player to spend 3 trade goods and give you 1 promissory note. Each player that does may research a non-faction, non-unit upgrade technology. You also gain each technology researched this way. Synergy yellow to green, so you can use your yellows as greens and greens as yellows. This is solid gold. You get a prom note and text. What more could you really want? Unlike the more intricate elements of their kit, this one has simple application. The Deepwrought Scholarate have a death by 1,000 cuts thing going on. All the little benefits they get while also helping out other players add up as the game progresses. And as they continue to add up, you'll find yourself ahead. Expeditions, Thunder's Edge, and the Fracture. Due to their diplomatic playstyle, I wouldn't put Thunder's Edge as a high priority. However, if you have a lousy secret that you start with, burning it on the first turn to unlock your breakthrough wouldn't be a bad idea at all. Or say if you have two lackluster action cards you don't mind sacrificing. Once the fracture opens up, you should stake your claim and try to get Styx, or at least settle for one of the other planets. Why? You win TI4 by scoring victory points. Styx gives you a victory point as long as you hold on to it. And the other planets don't give you a VP right off the bat, but they give you relics which can easily translate into a VP. Do not ignore the fracture or you'll be dead in the water, trust me. Moving on to Scholaret's start, they have a beautiful 4/4 single starting planet. Ikatina, their starting fleet consists of 1 dreadnought, 1 carrier, 4 fighters, 3 infantry, and 1 space dock. Usually I would prefer to see more than 3 infantry, but they have so many other ways of plopping down infantry that it doesn't matter that much. Their starting techs are whatever you decide they are. You get to research 2 techs. So, for example, you could get anti-mass deflectors and gravity drive if you want. Or you could get a green and then one of your faction techs. You could research AI dev algorithm and then PDS2. You could go plasma scoring and AI dev to rush the War Sun. Remember, you get to see the board before you choose your techs. So if you have a yellow tech skip near your home system, then boom, you're 1 research away from the War Sun. I will elaborate further on this topic in the tech path portion of the video. Let's analyze the Scholaret's first round, general strategy, and objectives. The Scholaret have a lot of options for their first round. The tech strategy card is typically calling out to them, because you get off to the races with your own techs, further capitalizing on your technology advantage. Plus, you could start getting your ocean cards by utilizing your agent. If you don't already have your hydrothermal mining, you can research it to start profiting off all the aforementioned ocean cards. The new and improved warfare is your second best choice. You can offset the disadvantage of only starting with 3 infantry by taking more planets. The Deepwrought Scholarate are all about momentum. You're churning techs, getting better ones, growing all over the board, and generating more and more trade goods. Warfare is a strategy card that gives you the most momentum out of the gate. Tech and Warfare are low in initiative order, so other players should have a planet or 2 for you to coexist on by the time you decide to use Tech, or even if another player has it and uses it. The following public objectives are easily scored by the Deepwrought Scholarate: diversify research, develop weaponry, found research outposts, negotiate trade routes, push boundaries, master the sciences, revolutionize warfare, subdue the galaxy, and rule distant lands. Remember, for the purposes of scoring, you can count the planets that you are coexisting on. Next, Mecatol Rex, should you take it? Yes, you should if you can. If you get a couple mechs down, you could use their production abilities to lock the planet down further. And in case you were wondering, yes, you can coexist on Mecatol. I'm of the opinion that you should always claim Mecatol Rex if possible, but I would separate factions into high need and low need. The Deepwrought Scholarate are low need. Mecatol isn't essential to their playstyle, but it can still be valuable for obvious reasons. You score a VP by taking it, you can score more with Imperial, and you can score Mecatol-related public and secret objectives. Plus, the new secret objective discard draw 1 ability is useful. On to Deepwrought's multifarious tech research paths. They don't have a solitary optimal tech path, but I'll give you a sample one and the logic behind it. Neural motivator, biostims, hydrothermal mining, radical advancement, anti-mass deflectors, grav drive, infantry 2, X89 bacterial weapon. Again, this is just a sample generic tech path I came up with. Deepwrought's ideal tech path varies, perhaps more so than any other faction. Use radical advancement as needed. You can ditch anti-mass and get grav drive, you could ditch biostims for hypermetabolism, and keep in mind your hero. You should plan out which tech you're going to purge ahead of time. I think fleet logistics or lightwave deflectors are actually good choices. Most players will go down that blue path, so I recommend neglecting it and then pulling the rug in the late game. It will certainly throw a wrench in whatever tenebrous machinations they have. In conclusion, the Deepwrought Scholarate will test your strategic foresight and your mastership of diplomacy. I would advise you to pick them in a game with 4 or more players, preferably 5 or more. But you can play a great game as them regardless of the circumstances, once you're accustomed to their playstyle. So, with a little practice, winning with these fantastic, scholastic, thalassic, galactic, technocratic, pelagic underwater inhabitants should be smooth sailing. It's time for me to shove off now. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.